Hey, Tom here from the Run Testers, and welcome to the annual Run Testers Awards for 2023. In this video, we pick our winners and runners-up for a range of categories, including loads of different shoes and headphones and watches. So let's dive in and see who won. Okay, so we're back again with the awards, the 2023 Run Testers Awards, and we've moved it forward a little bit this year because I think last couple of times we've done it, we've left it till the end of the year, and it's sort of we've got pretty much all the shoes already, so we thought we'd do it a little bit earlier this year.
Got all the shoes.
Got all the shoes, but as a result, what we've done is we're discussing this. If it was going to be if the shoes had to be in 2023, or we picked up the shoes that we missed last year that came out towards the end, so things like the Superblast. So we've included shoes that came out that we couldn't include in the last awards.
Sounds good. It's very Oscars, very like the Oscars.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's been I wouldn't say. I think last year there was like some really clear. It was a really exciting year for shoes last year, and there were some really big wins. I don't think it's been as exciting this year. There's been a few good shoes, but there's not been like lots of standout stuff, I would say. What would you guys say?
I think it's been some stand. Yeah, I agree. It's been a bit of a. I think what's been very apparent when we did the voting for the awards is actually some of the very best shoes that we've all loved a lot individually. Not all of us have got. So I think we've had a little bit less, general hype between us about some shoes, which maybe dulls the overall level of hype. But yeah, I think a lot of brands have had a slightly quieter year. But yeah, it's been okay. Yeah, some very good shoes.
I think the thing that's missing for me this year was last year we had a massive onslaught of shoes from brands like Saucony and Puma, where it just seemed like new shoes are coming out every few weeks. And of course, we haven't had new Speed this year either, so we should always and Mach 5. So they're ones that obviously crop up quite a lot in the awards. So
actually, I suppose what might be is that this was the year of the Super Trainer, and in the end, a lot of those were a little bit disappointing. So I think actually that maybe dulled my overall impression of the year quite a lot, because all the new Super Trainers came out and actually a lot of them weren't very good, I thought.
Yes, I'd agree. Yeah. Okay, well, let's start going through the awards. So as always, we all vote on our favourite picks throughout the year, and then we tally up all of the choices and work out what the top pick is in a category, and then we have a runner-up as well. And in this video, we're going to talk a bit about why we pick those shoes. So the first award we've got is Best Running Watch. Mike, you're going to pick this one up. What won Best Running Watch in 2023?
Yeah, so I think this is pretty unanimous, I think, in terms of the team, but I think that the one we've gone for is the one that is on my wrist. It is the Garmin Forerunner 965. Now, I think the big thing for this really for Garmin is that they really had to show a bit more of a response to what's happening with smartwatches, and particularly the Apple Watch. So they decided to go AMOLED with a few of their watches this year. I think for us, the 965 is the one that stands out. It's that kind of top feature-packed running watch that Garmin has in its collection, and it really kind of elevates a lot of the features that it already has on this watch, has already delivered on the previous watches. I think it really makes mapping more impressive in terms of having that AMOLED display, all the data that you'd want from a 900 series from the Forerunner is there as well. And I think crucially, and this is the thing I think we were all worried about, is what the battery life was going to offer and what it was going to deliver. And I think ultimately for me, it's something that I still go back to when we're testing watches all the time. It's the watch that I go back to, and I think the battery life has kind of delivered on that front and gives me enough, and I think for a lot of us in the team who voted for it, just an all-round good performance. And it is more expensive than the previous watch, but I think if you want that AMOLED display and that kind of top-end Garmin running watch, then that's what you get from the Forerunner 965.
Any thoughts from anyone else?
Kieran, you had it out at Lake Garda, right?
Yeah, and I actually absolutely concur with what Mike said. I think the battery life is something that's sort of really been a standout for me on that. I was testing it up against the Apple Watch Ultra 2 over the 3 days in various different settings, and it's the kind of watch that actually I could have gone the whole of that run without having to worry about at all. And in all of the settings, it was competitive. Just solid. And the one thing as well, I think just the AMOLED screen does really make a difference. It's taken a little while for me to be a convert to that as an idea. I've been, I don't really mind having a screen as long as I can see it. But again, out in the bright sunlight, I think it actually really impressed me, and particularly over that kind of multi-day as well. So the
only negative I had about it was because it doesn't have the reinforced screen that you get on the Epics and the Phoenix, which has never bothered me at all. I never even thought about it, but I did actually scratch the 4 on a 965 screen at one point. I don't know when. It was somewhere in Wales. But yeah, so that's I think why, when you talk about we often, I think, gloss over a bit the difference in build quality between Phoenix Epics lines and the 965 lines, because it's not something that generally comes up a lot in our day-to-day running, I don't think. But yeah, you don't get that screen, but it's quite rare that I would scratch a watch. First time I've ever done it to, I think. Okay,
so winner 965. What about the runner-up, Mike?
So the runner-up we've gone with is the Coros Pace 3. So I think we all loved the Coros Pace 2, and I think the Pace in general is kind of probably Coros' strongest watch. And while the price has gone up with the new Pace, I think ultimately it's still offering exceptional value for money in terms of what you're getting, in terms of a sports watch, in terms of what you're getting in running features, in terms of you're still having that really strong battery life that we really kind of associate with Coros watches. I think in terms of the upgraded heart rate sensor we've got here, in terms of having dual frequency GPS, all these kind of things that you've got in the cheapest Coros watch really makes it a real standout watch, and I think it holds its own against much more expensive running watches as well. So I think I think it was very close in terms of these two watches, and I think we've got one that's kind of that top end price in terms of the 40965, but as a runners up kind of award for the Coros Pace 3, I think in terms of value, I mean it's very hard to beat in terms of what you get from that watch.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really great about it is that the multiband GPS seems to have been improved quite a lot, because Coros brought it, actually were the first to launch the multiband watch was the Vertex 2, and it just wasn't very good, and I was a bit disappointed. And then the Apex 2 Pro, and they had multiband GPS, it still wasn't very good. But the Pace 3, it genuinely has been very accurate. Like, I used it for my 80k run against the Epics, and it was very close across the whole way in multiband mode and things like that. So that GPS at that price point is quite rare. I think it's of that standard, and that's a big thing for me. I'm obsessed with GPS.
And also good for people with leaner wrists. The Pace.
Yeah, much smaller, very nice and light.
Okay, so from watches on to the next bit of tech, headphones. Now, I'd probably say it's been a bit of a quiet year for headphones. Sometimes we get a lot of headphones released. It doesn't seem to be that many, but there's been a couple, or one specifically towards the end of the later in the year that's cropped up, which been waiting for a while. So, what won best headphone, Nick?
Kieran, right?
Yeah.
I thought you were taking this one.
He's going to do the runner-up. He's going to do the runner-up. He's going to do the runner-up.
Okay.
Do you want to do that? Do you want to do that last line again?
Leave it in.
Tom?
Leave it in.
Leave it in.
Leave it. All right. Okay. Yeah. Well, now we've set that. It's now the suspense has been built up. Yeah. So the winner of the best headphone for this year is the Jabra Elite 8 Active. Now, I think it's safe to say that we're all, fairly good fans of the old kind of Elite 4 Actives and the 7s, and the 8. I think have come in and they've just improved. I think across the board, most of the key areas that you want in a good pair of running headphones. So you've got solid fit for in-ears, I think, with a kind of shake grip, which does hold tight for most people other than Nick.
No, these are the only ones. The only ones that stay in my ear.
Oh, they stay in. So even that, they've ticked that box. But you've still got really nice compact design in terms of the buds and the case. They're well built. They've upgraded the durability, including in the case. I think they've got clear, rich, deep and pretty nuanced audio as well. That's also customizable, so you get lots of bells and whistles with these. Their battery life remains competitive, which I think is 8 hours active noise cancellation, goes up to 14 if you switch that off. There's like a total of 56 hours of runtime in the buds and the case, so it kind of ticks them over into, not only you've got marathon territory sort of covered with your 8 hours, but you've also got ultra covered as well with the battery life. Loads of additional features, ANC, the hear through, you've got spatial sound. You can have, one thing I really love about them is dual simultaneous connection, so you can connect to your phone and your laptop at the same time, and switching between those is nice and easy as well. And overall, I would just say these headphones are basically a really good all-round package for just sneaking in under £200 in the UK. So I think they represent good value for money, and I think they've been a favourite amongst the team because of that.
Nice. And now to Nick.
the runner-up. So the runner-up is a bit more of a controversial choice. I think it's fair to say if Shokz had released the Open Run Mini this year, we probably would have voted for that. But the Shokz Open Fit is headphones. I think they can go either way. So I love them because they fit really, really well. They've got a really secure fit for me, very comfortable fit. They hook over the top of the ear. They stay in place. They deliver better audio than bone conduction headphones, or allowing some awareness, although less awareness, it should be pointed out, than bone conduction headphones. But I know the fit hasn't been so good for other people. So I think that's the bit of a toss-up here. And I think this is one of the big trends in headphones this year, is this open headphones that isn't a bone conduction headphone. It hooks over the top of the ear. A speaker rests near your ear. They've called them air conduction. They just put a speaker near your ear is what they've done. And some of them are really good, and the sound quality is quite impressive. But actually, surprisingly, I think the fit issues with RIM is kind of across the board. I have a lot of them that hurt my ear a bit, that pinch my ear a bit, or a bit loose. And I would have thought an over-ear fit like that would be quite easy to get right, but actually it isn't the case. So I think when you're looking at these headphones, you have got to worry about the fit quite a lot. But the open fit for me did fit, but I said the word fit a lot. Fit really well, really comfortable, and I just really like them as headphones. I think they're a really solid option for general life use if you're not someone who goes for in-ear headphones all the time. Obviously not ideal when you're traveling, but the rest of the time they're quite useful. But I do know there were some problems with the fit in the team, right?
Yeah, I did not get on with them, and I'm testing. I mean, like Nick said, there's definitely. I think the biggest trend we've seen this year has been this kind of talk of air conduction, and it was ultimately just giving people who don't love the sound from bone conduction. I think with me, I think Shokz have got something here in terms of the sound performance, in terms of what they're delivering and offering something alternative to their kind of neckband style headphones. The fit just didn't work for me, and I think if they're going to persevere with it, I think there's room to improve that side of things. I think if they can get that right, I think I would be more on board with it as a pair. But I think there's a lot that they've got right in these headphones. Just needs, for me personally, needs to do a little bit of work in terms of that design, in terms of the secureness of the fit.
I thought they were great, but mine don't charge anymore.
What?
Mine don't charge anymore.
Okay, well, we should caveat that then. They're runner-up if they still charge, but getting them off.
Yeah. Well, I've not managed to work out how to. Assuming I'd done something wrong, but no, they're definitely not charging. So yeah, little caveat there, but it doesn't sound like it's a problem for anyone else.
Yeah, 25% of us though. It's not good.
Okay, so on to the shoes. We'll start with now this category. All the other ones are what we class as the best of the shoes, but with trail shoes, there's so many to test that we don't class it as the best trail shoe. It's our favourite trail shoe because there's so many that we haven't had an opportunity to test because there's so many that are released. Who's picking this one up?
Kieran's on the lead, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kieran, what won our favourite trail shoe of 2023?
Yeah, well, you've stolen a little bit of my thunder there. I think it's worth noting that when it comes to this award, we probably lean towards a shoe that's a bit more kind of road to trail, something that's probably a bit better on the less sort of technical side of things. So we're thinking about maybe rolling easier trails than the sort of steep mountain sort of technical descents that you might find people doing sky running. And for that reason, the winner that we've chosen is the Hoka Tecton X2. It's definitely one of those shoes that can cope with road to trail. It sort of ticks all the boxes of a sort of versatile off-roader. I think it's good, it's kind of fast, it's pretty nimble. It's got kind of balanced cushioning, so there's enough cushioning there to soak up a bit of the trail and the road, but you're getting response. There's enough stability and support, I think, for a lot of people to find it quite a generous shoe and easy to run in on trails. I think it's got gears for shorter and faster runs, but you can also wear it on longer, slower runs, and it's got the protection that you might take into ultra territory when you're going to have a lot of time on feet as well. So it's got all of that in its locker. It's a bit basically like a pepped up Speedgoat that's comfortable, durable, and I think a really, really capable shoe that's just fun to run across the trails in.
Not massively different than the first one though, is it? It's a minimal
yeah, there's
changes.
They've not changed an awful lot, which I figure that maybe was a popular one.
There's some shoes that we've got in here that are massive overhauls to the previous versions, but the Tecton X2, not a major difference from the first one.
What I found with the Tecton X2 is I appreciated it a little bit more by the end of the year, having tested a load of kind of super shoey trail shoes from other brands that have gone a bit more wild with their designs, more crazy like. And you realise just how kind of solid and reliable the Tecton X2 is, and can land on almost anything and grip and give a decently wide platform to land on. So I do think, it's got a pretty good reliability factor as well, but you don't necessarily feel a massive amount of response from the midsole, I don't know.
I've whenever I run out, I just think it's a lovely smooth ride. That's what I always get from it. Really enjoyable, smooth ride.
Tom Smooth Ride. Sponsored by Def.
That's what you call the podcast. All right, then, what's the runner-up then?
I'm on this list. The Nike Ultrafly, which I think is an interesting shoe. Actually, I think I've done about 150k in this shoe. I've done a lot of running. I don't actually think I put it in my top 3, but other people have voted for it. So I do think it's a good shoe. So I think it's just a really expensive shoe. But this is Nike's Vaporfly for the trails, is what it was initially mooted as, with ZoomX foam in the midsole, a carbon plate. They've wrapped the ZoomX to make it more stable, big, beefy, wide base on it, and it's quite a heavy shoe as well. And I actually love the shoe a lot because it was my first summer of doing these ultra distance runs. It's a very, very approachable, accommodating shoe, and I really liked ticking through very long runs very slowly in it, and it was really good for that. I just don't think it's a terrific racing shoe if you're looking at shorter distances, and actually you get that a little bit more from. This is probably one for next year, but now, because it actually doesn't release till spring, but the Adidas trail shoe, the Terrex Agravic Speed Ultra, is a bit more dynamic and exciting. But the Ultrafly, I think, is a very good shoe. And I've loved using for lots of runs. I still just don't know how much I'd recommend it because of the price, but it is a runner-up, so I'll say it's a very good shoe. But maybe, Mike, you must have voted for this, right? You love it.
I voted it, yeah. I mean, like I say, I think when this I got the shoe in, I mean, I was kind of thinking of it as being a lot more aggressive than it actually turned out to be. And I think in terms of a shoe that you can kind of cruise in, I love the fact that Nike has decided to go that kind of Vibram outsole on it. So, loads of good trail shoes have that, and it works really well. And I think for me, the runs that I've done it, I've just enjoyed running in it. I don't think you can do massively quick runs in it. It just doesn't allow for that, but that's not what I don't think it's built for, and what we thought maybe it would be built for. But I think in terms of the runs that I've done, and you're just relaxing, kind of going out and covering a lot of mileage, I think it's a nice shoe to run in. It's one I've enjoyed running in.
Yeah, I mean, it was fair. I don't want to do it down because, out of the box, pretty much, I just did 50k in it. For the first time in my life, I ran that far and that long, and I did the last 30k of the 80k Ultra in it, and it's really, really comfortable and a great upper for comfort. Although it's not the thickest upper, I did get thorns in my feet at times. But I just think you've got to go in expecting that a cruiser. If you go in expecting that bouncy ZoomX ride, it just doesn't really deliver that. It's a much more stable, platform than that. Yeah. Built for stability and comfort rather than that zingy pace.
Okay, so from trail shoes to, I'd say this is probably one of the trickiest areas, the categories nowadays, because so many things in it. Daily shoes, best daily shoe. Now, best daily shoe has gone from being just, your comfortable shoe that you pick up and go and do miles into a massive spectrum of shoes, including, daily super shoes and all sorts of things. So there were a lot of competing shoes in this category, but one shoe stood out above all of them. That was the Asics Superblast.
It's where I think I was quite skeptical of the shoe, and then I tried it. Yeah, it is really good.
Yeah, I picked it up quite early on in the year, and you haven't had it till recently, have you? And it's just a fantastic, enjoyable shoe. It's a very expensive shoe, but it's a shoe that you can do a lot of stuff in. It technically, on paper, when you pick it up, it looks like a big max cushion shoe, but really you can go pretty fast in it as well.
Yeah, I've gone down the track in it. It's got a bit of stiffness to it, so you can run fast. It's like the only shoe in Asics' range that uses this turbo foam that isn't, the racing shoe from Metaspeed, the Metaspeed racing shoe. So you are getting a bit of bounce there. It's really versatile. It kind of shows what you can do with a max cushion shoe with a great foam, because it's 250 grams in a UK 9 and it's 45.5 millimeter stack height. It's crazy light. So yeah, it's really expensive, and there's certainly more practical shoes you can get for a lot less that probably do a very, very good job. We've got some in the other categories, but I did enjoy loving running in it, and it's probably the first time I've really liked and really loved using a absurdly high cushion shoe. For the most part, I find them a little bit annoying at times, but this and then maybe the Prime X2 Strung for training, I did find very enjoyable.
I think the Superblast is going to be very interesting to see what happens with it. It reminds me of, I think the original Nova Blast was a little bit more of a polarizing shoe. Some people absolutely loved that shoe, and some people weren't so keen on it. But the magic of that first shoe disappeared quite quickly when they moved to the Nova Blast 2. So I'm very interested to see what they do with the next Super Blast version when it comes out.
The feeling I have with it, and it isn't really like it at all, but it feels similar in what I'd use it for and how much I enjoy it to the original Nike Pegasus Turbo, which obviously was a well-loved shoe. And I get a very similar vibe from it, even though it is so much bigger. Yeah.
But is it interesting?
All right, sorry.
I was just going to say, it's interesting. Why do you think this hasn't really been pushed? Because you guys both loved it, and it's not really a shoe that Asics has really pushed, in terms of its launch. So in terms of it going forward and being a an iteration.
Well, I think they got surprised by the Nova Blast being so popular,
Yeah.
and then they, really start to push it. And I think there's now a whole load more Super Blast colorways coming out. They lowered the price very slightly, I think, as well, and I think they've realised they've got a winner there. It is, you look at it. Originally, it was a £200 45mm stack shoe without a plate. It's a niche shoe. So, why would you buy it? Then you do buy it, and you realise, I can do a bit of everything in this shoe, and actually, I want to do a bit of everything in this shoe. And the price doesn't seem so mad when suddenly you're replacing 2 shoes in a rotation with it and things like that. But yeah, it's still a little bit of a niche shoe, so they're not going to push it that hard, I imagine, just because you're going to flog a lot more Nimbus and Kayanos. Right?
Yeah. Well, the runner-up in the best daily shoe category is an interesting one that, for me, is probably one of the most, I would say, exciting shoes of the year, but one that was most surprising. That's the On Cloud Surfer 7, a shoe that it's a complete overhaul of some of the materials that are used in pretty much all of On's shoes. So instead of using the Helium Superfoam, it uses CloudTech Phase, which is a considerably softer shoe. It gives you a completely different ride than what you get in any of On's other shoes. And I think we all enjoyed that shoe, didn't we?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Very much
Yeah.
squeaky, but very, very good.
Squeaky, yeah. My girlfriend was walking around the house a bit like that, and I was like, what's that noise? Is there a mouse in it?
I do think it's the best ride On's ever produced. It's one of the best rides of the year for moving around. Like it was, I think, Kieran, you talked about this recently with me. Talking about when you're coming back from like illness or injury, and you start running again. You're so excited to be running, and then a shoe really clicks with you as well, and it's just like the best feeling. And I had that with the Cloud Surfer, and I was just ticking around in it, and it's quite light. And it's not the most responsive shoe, but it is so light and fun to run, and you can do some quicker stuff. But it's great fun to mooch around in. I still haven't hit like a massive amount of distance in mine though. That's probably my concern on durability. I don't know if you guys have done big distances in them yet.
No, I've just been using it for maximum 12k. I use it for those like easy daily runs and just been plodding those out. But I did do one where I didn't realise that the shoe was squeaking, and I was really confused the whole way. I could keep stopping and like checking my belt and stuff, but until somebody else mentioned to me that it does squeak, so now I know what it is.
It definitely does. I mean, I've been on a trip with On. We were all in Cloud Surface, and it was just collective squeaking everywhere we went. So yeah, definitely does squeak.
Nice. Well, hopefully we'll see some more shoes come out with this CloudTech Phase. Yeah,
gorgeous shoe for walking around in as well, which is classic
yes.
On.
As is the
really,
Superblast.
yeah. I have to say, I basically just live in the Superblast at the moment.
Okay, so from daily shoes on to best cushion shoes, another one that we had a lot of different conflicting entries for. Mike, what won the top spot for best cushion shoe of 2023?
Yeah, so the winner we've gone for is the Saucony Triumph 21. I think generally we're all pretty much fans of this shoe. I think, in terms of what Saucony's delivered in this shoe, they've changed things in terms of the upper, but in terms of the feel, in terms of the types of runs it's designed for. And I think it has a little bit of versatility where I think some of the cushion shoes that we've seen this year maybe doesn't quite have that same level of versatility. But, it's a shoe that I've been using long term, and it's just, as I say, it's a really enjoyable, comfortable. You've got that kind of power run, kind of plus foam. You've got that sock line, I think you kind of really sink into as well. But I think it's got a nice kind of rocker ride in there as well that makes it an enjoyable shoe to run in as well, and a one that I think you can soak up a lot of time in, and I think a worthy winner in terms of this category.
Well, one of you, I think it was you, Mike, or it might be you, Kieran, you actually put it in as a top spot for best daily shoe, which is interesting because that is sort of what a lot of people view this shoe as now.
I think maybe I did, but I think that it does have that versatility where I maybe didn't feel like that before. I'm not sure if it maybe Kieran had put it in, but I do think that it has a little bit more versatility where I think some of the shoes that we've seen this year that probably sit in this category maybe don't have that same kind of feel about it. But I think there is an element to that I think it can work like that.
Any other thoughts from anyone?
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say that it is. I think it's got more than just being, when I think about it up against something like a Nimbus, which we might talk about in a sec, for that it's different. I think it does more. I think it offers
Spoiler.
more. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, good way around. It offers more than that to me, and I think that's what really appeals. That it's not just, it's not just a shoe like we talked about the 1080 V13 that you're just going to only go and run easy miles in. There's a lot more to it. It can do a lot more, but when you want to go and run in a nice kind of cushioned sort of shoe, then it's got that and it's locker. So I think there's definitely versatility there.
It's a Triumph.
There you go.
Yeah. Does anybody want to let us know what the runner-up is?
No idea.
The A6 Nimbus 25, which is probably wasn't that surprising based on how we all reviewed it earlier in the year. But who wants to pick this one up?
Yeah, I mean, I could start. I mean, I think it's a massively changed shoe from the previous shoe. One that, again, we talked about versatility. I think you had that with the previous shoe, but I think this has gone kind of a different direction, and I think it's worked. I think we probably agree in terms of what it's the type of runs it's designed for. It works very well. It's very plush. I think the changes in terms of the upper are all designed around giving you something that's really comfortable. And it's a shoe that personally I have enjoyed running in. And if you're going to go slow, long, easy runs, I think it's ideal for that. It's just all about comfort here, the Nimbus 25. And I think from that point of view, that's what you're looking for in a shoe. This is a really good one for that.
I think as well, I really like it for long runs. I was a bit underwhelmed on our first run review just because the level of hype was insane for a cushion shoe. I was getting a bit annoyed by that, and then I ran in it more and thought, oh no, it is a really good cushion shoe. And I just really like long runs in the shoe because it's one of those shoes, a bit like the Brooks Glycerin 20, which hasn't been updated this year. It's a bit surprising. Feels just as good at the end of a run. It's not like it's really soft for the first few miles, but then gets a bit sappy and starts to sink in. And it has a bit of resiliency, the foam in the Nimbus, so it gives you that bounce all the way through and that comfort. And yeah, really good long run shoe. Very hard to argue with, apart from high price. I mean, this is one thing about cushion shoes this year, right? They've we'll talk about the Superblast being expensive. Most of these cushion shoes are now within about $20 of the Superblast, and it's a lot of money for a cushion shoe.
I tell you what, though, cushion shoes do come down a lot of them come down in price a lot quicker than the Superblast does.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're obviously there, and also they're nearly all very long running lines. So next year the Adidas Asics won't make a big update to the Gel Nimbus probably, so the 25 will suddenly be a big bargain because it'll be very similar to the new one.
Okay, so from comfortable cushion shoes to the big one, the best race shoe 2023, which has been an interesting year for race shoes. Nick, what won the top spot for best race shoe of 2023?
It has been an interesting year for race shoes. Some brands just opted not to update their shoes at all, and then we've had some insane recent developments with the Pro Evo 1 and the Alphafly 3, which aren't really available, so we haven't really included them in voting yet. But I think what's been the big story this year has been brands that hadn't made a very good carbon racing shoe making a good carbon racing shoe. So quick shout outs to all of those brands. On made a good racing shoe at last, Under Armour made a good racing shoe, Hoka, but the winner is the Nike Vaporfly 3 because we're pretty basic and we've just gone with the Vaporfly. But no, I love the Vaporfly 3. Now, we don't all agree on this, so we'll discuss that in a minute, but I basically think they made it perfect, and then we'll see what the Alphafly 3 is like in the Pro Evo 1, but they reduced the weight, they had a little bit more cushion, they reduced the outsole a bit, which is a bit of a problem because it's not as durable, but for pure racing, I think it's perfect. It's so light, you can turn your feet over really quickly. I've loved racing very short distances in this shoe, like 4.8k distances, but you've got that cushioning and bounce there, done a marathon in it as well, and it just feels superb towards the end. And right now, it's perfect for me. I can't wait to race any distance in the shoe, any kind of session. You can cruise around in it, during hard sessions, at cruisy paces. I wouldn't go and use easy runs. I wouldn't do that. But and then you can race a distance. So I think it's nailed it. And so I think a few of us voted for this, but then a few of us, other guys here, don't like it as much as older shoes, right?
I would say so. I really like it. I think it's a solid, great shoe. The only thing I would say about it is I don't think there's much in it with the Vaporfly 2. So, and I'd actually go as far as to say I'm not sure I like the slight bit more cushioning in the new one compared to the Vaporfly 2. When I've gone out in the Vaporfly 2 since, just to check the feel of it, I think I do prefer the Vaporfly 2. And also I have this major issue that I've ripped the bottom off of all my race shoes, and
this has been the year of Scuffy Tom.
Within about 7k on a 10k race, just destroyed the outsole of the Vaporfly 3, which is not what you want to do with a shoe that expensive.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I also I think I prefer the Vaporfly 2 as well. Simply, I just think there's a bit more stiffness, there's a bit more directness to the Vaporfly 2. To me, it's just overall a bit more racy than the new version, which that extra bit of cushioning I think just softens it and dulls it a little bit for the way that I run. It's still a great shoe, and I understand why a lot of people still love it. And actually, I think there's a little bit more protection there if you're not running quite as well. The Vaporfly 2, you kind of had to be in a certain form, I found, or running in a certain way, attacking a race. But yeah, and I think you could do more in the 3. But yeah, I think for all out racing, I would still go 2 over the 3.
Well, I think is interesting as well is I also think, by the way, like I love the Vaporfly 3 clearly, but if you're finding the Vaporfly 2 for 100 quid less, I'm buying the Vaporfly 2. I'm not crazy, but I think Nike seems to be, had the Vaporfly and the Alphafly with the second version of each, very clear differentiation. The Alphafly was a lot heavier, a lot bigger, a lot propulsive, great for marathons. Vaporfly was light, firm, stiff, speedy. It feels like maybe they're merging a little bit. The latest generation is the Vaporfly 3, got that a little bit softer, a little bit more cushioned, still very light. The Alphafly 3, what we've seen from prototypes, looks like they've lightened it a bit, streamlined it a bit. Maybe the shoes are coming together a little bit, and I wonder if that will be, great or not. But it does seem like Nike has moved on from the Vaporfly 3 and put all of its elites in the Alphafly 3. This autumn for the big races. So there might be more of the focus going forward for the brand potentially.
Okay, well, speaking of other brands that have released or really up their game when it comes to carbon plate shoes, what got the runner-up, Kieran?
Yeah, so we're giving the runner-up to this, and it's nice to see them make a shoe that's actually, I think it's their best race shoe yet. It's Hoka's Rocket X2, best carbon shoe they've produced, and I think they finally have a winner that, again, it's a shoe that's sort of really quite well balanced. It's agile, it's light. There's a little bit of softness to it, but it's still really energetic. I think it's springy and lively, all of those things. And the one thing I really love about it is there's lots of versatility in it. So I think I think it's probably best racing all out up to the half marathon. It might be a little bit too sort of direct for some people going beyond that up to the marathon distance, but it can cope with a range of paces and distances. And it's a carbon shoe that, it feels even sort of a little bit better equipped for training runs as well. So I think it kind of bleeds back into that. There's some of the carbon racers, you look at them, you think, do I really want to go and train in those? Not particularly, just because they sort of feel the way that they kind of feel on the foot and the way that you're going to run in them. You've got to be in a certain kind of mindset. But
I also ripped the outsole off of my just for reference.
Seeing a theme here.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Well, all the Vaporfly and Ons, I've seen a lot of people rip those outsoles. I've never seen someone rip the outsole off the Rocket X2 apart from Tom.
Yeah, one run, that's all it needed. Done.
I really like the Rocket X2 as well. I think it's a beautiful shoe for one, which is quite rare in carbon shoes in the blue version. But I think it's also a low drop super shoe that feels like a low drop super shoe. Like it does feel much more kind of flat across the thing. If you like that low drop feeling, whereas some of the ones that have low drop are such aggressive rockers, I think they still feel like normal drop, higher drop shoes. I differ with that. So I think it's a really soft shoe, and actually that's the only problem I had with it for long distances. When I did longer runs in it, I did feel like the foam just compressed a little bit, and I didn't get quite so much bounce at the end. I just feel like it's quite a soft foam they have there, but then everyone has slightly different things about shoes. But I think it's quite a stable carbon race shoe as well. I had a twisty race in it, and it's a shoe you can really go at corners in. And it also offered fantastic grip on a really wet track in one session, which again is not something you necessarily get from racing shoes. Obviously, you don't get it if you rip off the outsole.
No. Okay, so that's all the shoes done. And then we've got our new award that came new last year, which is the brand of the year. So it's the second year we've done it.
I mean, it was 2 out of 3 years. Is that new or is it an established tradition?
It's pretty new. It's pretty new. If we've been doing the awards for a while.
Yeah.
The brand of the year is a award we give to a brand that we think has made some big improvements or done really made us notice what has been being released over the past year. Last year it was Saucony. What this year, Nick, did we pick as our brand of the year?
I think it's a lot tighter this year. Last year it felt to all of us that Saucony had really had a great year and just made almost the best shoe in every category. And what Asics has done this year, it's not about carbon shoes. They haven't updated their carbon shoes this year, but I feel like every single shoe I've tried of theirs this year has been good, like really good. And they've put their FF Blast Plus foam in loads of shoes. They've made some shoes lighter. They've just generally improved every shoe in their range to the point where they've got a really top offering in every category, like going from the Nimbus and the Kayano, massive cushion stability and neutral shoes, just really comfortable, fun to run in. You've got the Super Blast, obviously an outrageously fun shoe that people have really started to take to. They going at the Magic Speed 3, like budget carbon racing shoe or training partner shoe, really fast, the fastest I think of the super trainers, just a really fun shoe to run in. And on the trails as well, the Fuji Speed 2 I think is my favourite of the plated carbon trail shoes that have come out, just because it is genuinely very fast, really dynamic ride. And it just feels like every time I've pulled on an Asics shoe this year, it's been quite a similar and consistently impressive feeling. Like nothing is like wearing down fast. Tom hasn't ripped the outsole of any of the Asics shoes.
Well, let's not forget the Giuliano 30. That's a big. No, I've not ripped the outsole of that one.
That's what I mean. Yeah, there you go.
It's almost impossible. But,
Exactly. You'd be digging in there with a claw hammer to get that out.
well, for me, that was the big thing for me. The Giuliano 30 is the first Giuliano shoe I've really liked.
Yeah, and same with the Nimbus actually. The first Nimbus I really like. It just feels across the board they've made just a load of excellent shoes that are not only like quite fun and exciting to pull on, but actually just fundamentally good shoes that last a long time, feel good on every run, don't wear down, just are practical good shoes.
Yeah, I think they've made some bold decisions about making changes to some iconic lines, and they could, they ran the risk of, ultimately getting it wrong. But I think most of the decisions they've made, they've got right. I think they've also listened in terms of previous iterations of shoes that haven't quite hit the mark, and they've learned and they've delivered better versions of those shoes. So yeah, I'd agree that I think they've probably had a good year. And as Nick said, I think across the range, I think that's the most important thing. It's not just been one category of shoe; it's been across different types of shoes as well.
And all this, we don't even really like the Nova Blast 3 that much. Imagine if we did like that shoe. And it'd be interesting to see certainly what they do with the Metaspeed line next year, but those are just very good racing shoes as well. So yeah, good shoes available. If you want to go all Asics, it's a very easy to build a fantastic rotation.
Definitely.
Nice. And our runner-up is a brand that pops up constantly. Everyone seems to have this somewhere in their list of picks. It's Garmin. So what's Garmin done this year that we really liked?
Made a load of good watches. Move on.
That's it.
Mike, you do. Mike.
The standout there has to be that they've made 500 editions of the Phoenix 7. And also,
I would say next year they'd get brand of the year if they just trim down the range a bit and make our life a bit easier. I give you. I mean, it's just there's no bad Garmins anymore, because they've all got the same underlying excellent features. The top end's always amazing. I still think they could probably use a better entry level watch just to compete with some stuff out there. But I mean, we all really like, even going up to the Epix Pro this year. They're even making AMOLED watches that last a long time. So yeah, they're taking on everything.
Okay. And the final award for the Run Testers Awards 2023 is the Audience Award. So this is where we ask the audience across Instagram and YouTube to pick their favourite shoe of the year. Now, we're not specific about the type of shoe. We just asked for their favourite shoe. And there was a lot of people who commented with their shoes. I think it was in the hundreds where people were commenting, and there was a massive range of shoes. Some that you would quite assume that would be in there, and some that I'd never heard of. But there was one clear winner by miles across all of the voting, and that was the Asics Superblast. People seem to love that shoe, despite the price, despite the fact it hasn't got loads of marketing behind it. It was by far and away the most popular shoe that people were voting for.
Word of mouth sensation. So our 2003 shoe of the year is a shoe released in 2022. We didn't actually get it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were some shoes in there that were from like 3 years ago. So. And then the runner-up was an interesting one, actually. That was the Boston 12.
Yeah, I mean, this is only I've tested it. I do think this would be featured quite strongly across our awards if you guys had all tested it as well. I really don't see a reason why anyone you wouldn't like it. It's a brilliant shoe. It's the Adidas. The previous couple of versions of the Boston were not really that well received. They were a massive stack, quite firm, built like a tank and lasted forever, and quite good for long runs, but just not really a fun feeling on the run. And the Boston 12 is a fun feeling on the run while still being, a great long run option, good continental rubber outsole, nice dual density midsole. Upper I don't like very much. It's a bit too racy, I think, for a shoe you're going to use most days rather than for actual races. Yeah, brilliant shoe, and I do think if you guys get hold of it, it might have snuck into a couple of other categories potentially.
Cheers, Adidas.
Yeah, that's why they didn't get brand of the year, because I voted for them. I've tested all the shoes. You guys had a try.
Well, that's it for the awards 2023 for another year.
Wow, God.
Yeah. Well done to everybody who won and all the runners-up as well. And we will be back. Well, we'll be back
next year.
We're going to book Wembley for next year, aren't we? We'll book the Royal Albert Hall to do the ceremony next year, right?
Well, if
bigger and bigger.
I don't know why I'm saying this because I know it'll happen anyway. But if there's anything we missed, or you feel that we got some of the picks wrong, then let us know in the comments.
I mean, we were
know
quite negative about a lot of our own picks. Just it's a difference of opinion. So not everyone. Yeah, all the votes have been counted, and it's not easy.
So until next year, see you. Catch you again.
It's been a triumph.
Been a triumph.
Has been a triumph. See ya.
Right.
That's it from us for another year on the Run Testers Awards. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell, all of those sorts of things. And if you go into the caption below, you can find a link to our podcast, which you can also find a version of this awards on as well. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.